Though considering the horrific carnage here from other tragedies we already know about where high-potency cannabis may have played a role, it's important that Americans have more answers. We deserve to know the truth about this multi-billion-dollar and growing industry, how it's affecting our young people, our working-age population, and even our military readiness.
Okay, so every time there's a really bad mass shooting, the different hosts on Fox News get to throw darts at a dartboard, and each of the sections is a different thing that they're supposed to think is responsible for it. So I don't know, maybe Sean Hannity hit video games this time around. Jesse Waters hit masks were the cause of it. He literally said that recently. Laura Ingraham believes it's pot because, I don't know, her core audience like came of age in the 50s and reefer madness is still persuasive to them. So on Tuesday night, she said that mass shootings were the fault of a dysfunctional home life where drugs put kids on a highway to hell. Pot use, especially among teens, can trigger psychosis and increase the chance that the young person will develop violent behaviors. Now, people have mocked this. Silence on Twitter calls her not a journalist. Jeffrey says, I've smoked, as many people have, I've smoked my fair share of weed. I've never shot anyone with a gun. These are all reasonable points, and we criticized what Laura Ingraham had said on the Wednesday edition of The Young Turks. She has been continuing on about this. Like Wednesday night, she was once again saying, what are they trying to silence us for, Brett? When we have this evidence that people are losing their minds over high levels of THC, I think we know that this is not the cause. I think it's an interesting angle to take in a period where more and more people are okay with marijuana legalization to once again try to make this the scapegoat for gun violence.
It's so weird that the right is trying to be cool now. And they haven't caught on that marijuana is super cool. Like that's what's so weird. Like they're showing their colors again. Like this sentiment, the Laura Ingraham sentiment in America in the 20s passed a constitutional amendment. Something impossible, something that typically takes like a civil war or an assassination to really like be like, oh, we don't have a rule for that. They passed a constitutional amendment that temperate weirdos like her. Now there is a fact that she is right about. The tiny kernel of truth is that marijuana can trigger psychosis in young people. And there's a ton of caveats around that. But regardless of those caveats, which means you have to be predisposed to potentially have a psychotic break due to genetic issues or whatnot. And they really do not know all the science around that. That's true. I offer a better solution, a device to make all well. Let's raise the age you have to be before you can buy a gun. And also for kids to smoke weed. Hate to break it to you, you total idiot. It's illegal everywhere. It is always already illegal for kids to buy weed. So that's not a problem. And you're gonna blame it on weed. That's insane.
Well, what she seems to be saying, and the guests that she's brought on seem to be indicating is the fact that it is illegal for kids to smoke marijuana is irrelevant because adults can smoke marijuana, and thus you have to ban the entire thing. Which is the exact same argument that they would apply to alcohol. Wait, no, that isn't actually. Again, what you said makes all the sense in the world. Let's say that you are right and that pot can trigger an underlying predisposition to psychosis. Then wouldn't you want those people to not be able to walk into a Walmart and come out with 1,000 rounds of ammunition and an AR-15?
Yeah,
but that's the diversion. She does not mind that. She does not want them to not be able to buy those guns. In every other country around the world, there are kids who apparently have a predisposition to psychosis that can be triggered at any time by the marijuana that is 100% available in their countries, and yet they don't shoot up schools. What is the variable that seems relevant here? You got the kids, you got the genetic predisposition, you have the marijuana, you have the schools. We're just missing like one ingredient that lets you shoot a bunch of people. It's something, I don't know.
Listen, in Amsterdam, it is legal to smoke weed and they have a high murder rate of pastries. They destroy pastries. They love eating them and naps. They kill it with the naps. They're not mass shootings on the order that we have because the people who are having the psychotic break are the people on Fox News. And also, if you're gonna factor in the propensity to have a psychotic break into the conversation and have that affect your policy, well then up till 29, I think it is, when people are, young men mostly, are most likely to have their psychotic break, if at all. So ban it up until then. Once we're out of the woods, Taylor Swift, we can then make it legal for people to buy guns. How about that? There's me and you in science having a conversation.
I just think it's such a weird, I'm sure that there's a reason, like she understands her audience. It's so weird specifically to use marijuana in an argument about what should be legal based on how dangerous it is, when she believes that the plant is the dangerous thing. Like you could grow up, you could go and fight in Iraq, you could serve 2 tours of duty and then come back and start a business and start a family. And you're 40 years old now, you've worked your whole life. We cannot trust you with marijuana, it's too dangerous. But an 18-year-old should have an AR-15. It makes no sense to reasonable, rational people.
So here's what's happening. Here's a visual for you to kind of encapsulate the difference between Democrats and Republicans when it comes to messaging and building a coalition.
Okay.
Now, the Republicans are fishing for people. And so they have 15 different fishing poles with 15 different kinds of bait, and they're trying to catch 15 different kinds of people. And Democrats go around and try to pick out the fact that one fishing pole can, catch a kind of fish that's completely a different kind of fish to another one on a different fishing pole. And we're like, that's weird that you're using 2 conflicting kinds of bait. And they're like, I don't care. And so Democrats flock to the hook and try to pull it off. And meantime, there's another pole in the ocean somewhere catching more fish. And Democrats are so concerned with that, as opposed to just messaging a bunch of different things, conflicting or not, to just try to appeal to the most people. What's infuriating about the Republicans is they're against this identity. They're all like, oh, what's with this identity politics that everybody's doing? Meanwhile, as you pointed out, I think on Wednesday or yesterday, there's opening like Jewish community centers to get people to get Jews to come over, and Asian American community centers, doing the exact opposite. But all they're doing is putting out more bait to catch more fish. And Democrats need to do something like that. But unfortunately, what Nancy Pelosi is doing is just denying, making it illegal to put out bait that will catch progressives.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm hungry as hell. Can you offer some kind of sustenance for me? Because I will go to a hook. I don't care. I will gladly be caught if you forgive student debt.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.